Yo, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Premps, and I am back with another One Piece review and analysis, and after being on break for a week, chapter 1012 is here. Now I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed this one. It felt like even though it was a progressive chapter, that so much kind of happened. We were thrown around quite a bit, but I felt like every bit of information that we got was so important. So I'm going to try to break things down here and give you guys and girls my thoughts as of right now. But as always, make sure you leave a like on the video as it helps me out so much with that YouTube algorithm. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel as I try to bring you all One Piece chapter reviews on a weekly basis. But without any further ado, let's get into this chapter. So for those of you who are interested in the cover page, it was a cover page request of Eustace Captain Kidd, and he's making some sort of metallic bird using his ability, and it actually looks pretty cool. But in the meantime, there are some birds that are nesting in his hair too. And I mean, once again, even though it's a pretty cool cover page, I'm almost missing the cover stories because I feel like they expand on the story in the background, but I'm sure we'll get some more of that at some point. The chapter's called Itch, and we'll get onto that in a minute, because the chapter begins by taking us back to the scabbards and seeing what they're doing. Over the last few chapters, we've seen the scabbards slowly splitting up one by one in order to fight their own mini battles, whether it be Ashura Doji staying back or even Raizo looking to fight for Kurokuju. But what we got here was almost a flashback to the relationship between Kiku and Izo, with Izo worrying about the wounds that Kiku has suffered, and for those of you who may have forgotten, Kaido took out his arm with that wind scythe attack or whatever it was. But Kiku here explains that he is a samurai and that this is nothing more than an itch, which links back into the title of this chapter, and that his heart ached more when Izo disappeared. And I imagine that this is in reference to Izo going to join the Whitebeard Pirates, and I think this was very wholesome, and it's going to be part of a trend that I saw throughout the chapter, and that's of the samurai all being quite full of emotion, which completely goes against what Hiyori said before the battle, and that a samurai shouldn't get emotional before battle. But moving on, we get Kinemon's outlook of the battle, and he acknowledges how far things have been escalated, and it would be best for the scabbards to split up and go and support their allies, and that he himself will go find Momonosuke and protect him alone. The remaining scabbards, which also include Kawamatsu, completely understand this, and it's actually Kiku who pleads to go and finish Kanjuro alone, so I'll be looking to see what happens there. Now as the scabbards continue to move on, they run into Shishilian and Barriette, who for those of you who have forgotten is that little monkey-like character that was ringing the bell on Zou. And they informed him that Pedro died, and that it happened on Whole Cake Island. They also highlighted that Carrot and Wanda went to go and find the man who killed him, and if panels can talk, I would be so hype, because you can feel the adrenaline that's pumping through Nekomamushi's veins at this point, as he's like, oh, so the man that killed Pedro is on this island, yeah? And he pounces out of there, and this is absolutely fantastic. Because I just remember all the smack that Perospero was talking about Carrot not being strong enough to take revenge, and now this has set up for Perospero versus Nekomamushi, and we don't even know what side Perospero is on right now, so this is definitely a watch this space encounter. The chapter also shows us what's going on with Yamato, Momonosuke and Shinobu, and it seems that they've taken refuge on the first floor attic, and Yamato is like, I'm going to head out and, be bait, with Shinobu and Momonosuke acknowledging that she's just itching for an excuse to fight. Once again, linking in with the title of this chapter. Now Shinobu highlights that Kinemon has made contact with them, and therefore, as he mentioned earlier, he's on the way to come and protect Momonosuke. But what's most interesting here is that ability that Momonosuke has, because Yamato asks, how is Luffy? And Momo mentions how there's only 2 voices left on that rooftop, and Luffy's losing strength but still eager as ever, and Yamato begins to worry, and so it seems that he/she is heading to the rooftop. And I think there's a bit to uncover here, because one, what is this power that Momonosuke has? I think we all know he has the voice of all things, but is this some form of observation haki too? Being able to sense how many people are on the rooftop and the power of Luffy seem very similar to what Rayleigh was able to do on the island outside of Amazon Lily when he was teaching Luffy observation Haki and telling him how many animals there were stronger than him. But this may require some more analysis in the future because there's so much we need to understand, particularly about Momonosuke by the end of Wano, ranging from his fruit to his power and even the potential of him being an ancient weapon. But that's a discussion for another day. Now Yamato does leave Oden's log with Momo, and in the meantime, it seems that Momo is going to have some reading to do, and he's going to find out a few of Oden's stories. But then we get into some of the juicy stuff, because we move into the castle's interior's second floor, and we get to finally see my boy Sanji mashing some work on some fodder characters, whilst carrying some sort of crucifix, bandage type object, only to find out that it's a bandaged up Zoro. And all of these fodder characters are like, yeah, let's get them. It's a 2-on-1. His bounty is 330 million berries. This is a complete win for us. But what I love here is Sanji's dynamics with Zoro. And it just doesn't change, with him calling him Mosshead and how Zoro's always been such a pain. And clearly Oden realised that it would be pretty random for Sanji and Zoro to have just randomly reunited. And so he gives us a brief flashback as to how they met up. And it was when Law transported himself and Zoro off the rooftop, and he seemed to switch them with some object that was in mid-air. And just fortunately, I should say completely fortunately, Sanji was just below them. And I also want to highlight that we also had Zeus here in the background, and he's being questioned by Sanji as to why he's not with Nami, as Sanji has no clue as to what has happened because he was with Black Maria. So he didn't know that, Zeus had gone back to Big Mom and then he was trapped by Kid and now he's just on his own. And that just shows how fast things are moving here. Furthermore, Oda loves to play on Sanji, as Sanji's furious that he had to catch both Zoro and Law because catching men just isn't Sanji's thing. He's all about the ladies. But what's even more funny here is the 2-second overview that Law gives Sanji about what's going on, stating how Zoro probably had about 20 to 30 broken bones and how Sanji should be the one to look after him as he runs over to where Big Mom is. And I really like the conversation that Sanji and Zoro have here, as Sanji questions who beat Zoro up this bad, and he mentions it was Kaido and Big Mom. And Sanji's like, yeah, you know what, that makes sense, before quickly asking how Luffy was doing, and Zoro stating it seems that Luffy has figured something out and that Luffy's gonna win. And Sanji looks at Zoro like, obviously, as if it was even silly to even doubt Luffy for a second. And I just love this encounter between the right and left hand of Luffy, having so much faith in their captain whilst being a force themselves. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now as Sanji is carrying Zoro and begins to run off to check on Momo, they meet up with Kawamatsu and he mentions how Kinemon has just gone there. Zoro suggests that if they all want to make themselves useful, they should go to the live floor, and then passes out. And I'm so excited. It seems that the live floor is where it's going to be at. We know that that's where King and Queen are, and that's where Nekomamushi is heading now in order to go fight Perospero. Even Marco's there, and it just feels like that's where things are going to go off. So I can't wait till we get there. We then see what's happening with Big Mom after she's just literally knocked out page 1. She's furious that Okobore town was burned down to the ground, and it seems she's going to make whoever was involved in that burning of the town absolutely pay. Ulti clearly isn't happy and appears to go and fight Big Mom, but the most hilarious part here is actually Nami and Usopp. They're there rooting for Big Mom in the background, telling her, yeah, take Ulti out, and Big Mom's like, are you mad? I'm coming for you Straw Hats after this. And then they switch sides and they're like, Ulti, yeah, Ulti, let's take out Big Mom. And Ulti's like, are you crazy? I'm coming for you guys once I'm done with her. So at this point, they're like, damn, Camacho, run as far as you can. But something strange happens here. Ulti literally speed blitzes Camacho, knocking him out, with Tama crying for her to stop because Camacho's her best friend. But Ulti makes the wrong move here, as she slaps Tama and tells her to stop crying. And so now Ulti has a real problem on her hands, as Big Mom is infuriated, and Ulti is like, you did the same to page 1. But maybe Big Mom shouldn't be the one that Ulti had her attention turned to, because Nami is also furious. She's furious that Ulti would raise her hand to her child, which gives me that Arlong Park vibes, where Nami was trapped as a child under Arlong's rules for so long, and she can't bear to see this happen to Tama. And she hits Ulti with what appears to be a lightning strike. And there's a lot that I think can happen here, because Zeus is on his way heading in that direction. And although Big Mom is there, could Zeus go back to Nami? And could Nami be the one to use Zeus to take out Ulti? I'd really like to see what happens here. I mean, Big Mom has Hera now, right? So does she really need Zeus as well? But that brings the chapter to an end. A really jam-packed chapter with loads of moving pieces, and definitely a lot to uncover as the story progresses. I'd like to know what you all felt was the most important part of this chapter, or just your favourite part, and what are you excited to see going forward. And as usual, if you like anything I've had to say, please make sure you leave a like on the video, and if you like weekly One Piece reviews, then make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss out when I drop more content just like this. Safe.